Good morning. Got the sunrise behind me, or I will soon. We'll have more sun coming up than we had going down yesterday. If you guys caught the video that Michelle and I recorded from the beach. And I was, moments like last night or yesterday evening, afternoon, evening, those are really, really important moments. Valuable time spent. And what's most important here is to cherish the moments and the time that you have with loved ones on this earth. And honestly, it's a dreadful situation. It's not, it's a sad story, but I would only be so grateful, hopeful to find myself in a situation where I could tell somebody goodbye. And the story of the folks in the hot air balloon crash, especially the young man who sent his last message to his girlfriend, sort of fiance, soon-to-be wife, who had parachuted out of this hot air balloon. I think it matters. I think it matters. And to someone like anybody like that, it's like, so in the end that they were thinking about you and they cared about you and they really, really loved you, and they just wanted you to know that. I don't know the entire situation. To be able to have the ability to have all motor skills and be able to communicate in a high stress environment such as a impending hot air balloon crash says a lot. Like, that adrenaline's pumping, and it's so sad. Now I will say that this is not me personally. There's just certain things I wouldn't do. We take risks. We certainly take risks. We take risks every day. Me walking around and just talking to you guys and having this conversation is a risk. But I think about airplanes, and it's like, well, once you get a certain altitude, your phone's not going to have service. But it's like, if you ever did find yourself in that situation, for instance, I think it wasn't too long ago where a commercial airline took a nosedive. One of the pilots made the wrong adjustment on a flap setting. I believe she went to 15 degrees instead of 5, and might have been one of those DEI hires or something. Maybe, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm sure it was a scary situation. Like, seconds away from a lot of people losing their lives. But it's like, in a situation like that, would you be able to have the ability to get to your phone and alert those that mean the most to you at that time? Now, diving a little bit deeper into it, and it's so sad, and prayers go out to all the families and the victims and the survivors. It's really sad. It really is. Now, what I would like to know is how did this happen? I like to know how a lot of things happen, but this one in particular, I'm gonna request that Squirrel Tribe Michelle sink her teeth into this one and get to the bottom of it, because I feel like there should be a clear-cut answer as to how this happened. For them to be able to operate in such a manner, and I'm sure there's regulations and licensing and all these different things, flight checks and protocols, then this should be pretty simple, easy, and obvious to identify the cause. And so far, there's been no indication as to why this happened, and I don't think that that's acceptable. But we can say that about a lot of things, folks. There's a lot of things happening right now that don't make any sense, and obviously there's foul play at hand, and we are being tricked, we are being lied to, we are being kept in the dark, as always, blind. What are they trying to hide? What are they trying to cover up? So, interestingly enough, I didn't know, and this was actually one of the concerns I had. You know, we went to Canada over the summer. We drove through Canada. That was a interesting event. But we made it. We made it there, through there and back. And I was concerned about laws here in the United States, here in America. I've been here all my life. I understand how it goes. I know how it works. You know some of the unwritten laws and rules. We were even watching Karen and Nate on one of their videos, and on one of their videos, they were in Singapore. I think it was Singapore, and they were trying to walk across Singapore. And completely unrelated to any of this is the fact that they were talking about the laws. Something about chewing gum could get you arrested. I'm pretty sure it was chewing gum. Something about chewing gum could get you arrested in Singapore. But who would know that? I mean, maybe there's some easy searches you can do online to, you know, crazy laws that you need to know when traveling and visiting Singapore. Crazy laws that you need to know when you're traveling through and visiting Canada. Canada, as Tucker Carlson would say. And this light is bright. That's the sweet one. We got low, high, really high, low, high, really high, strobe. I don't know why there's a strobe feature. So really high, it's only on for a second. I don't know why they do that. My GoPro was giving me trouble last night. We recorded on the beach. I really like this GoPro. And we recorded on the beach. We came back, no issues whatsoever. And it was sitting on my table, and it was just charging. So when I get done, okay, the really bright light has a timer on it. So when I get done, I like to leave it plugged in, so I top off the battery. It's got the Enduro battery so that it lasts longer than a regular battery. And somehow I pulled the cord and yanked it off the table, and it fell like, I don't know, the distance between the tabletop and the chair. So like 15, 16 inches or something like that. So it fell. I didn't think anything of it. It didn't fall very far, whatever. I go out last night. If you guys watched my video from last night about MKBHD, then those new Florida Don't Tread on Me plates. But I recorded that video using my smartphone, my Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, because the GoPro wasn't working. Side note, this has a Casetify case on it, and I think I might actually take this case off, because I learned yesterday that Casetify has been stealing other people's case designs, and more specifically, Jerry Rigs Everything. They stole his case, and I think he's filing a lawsuit against him for this theft. So I don't, and Jerry Rigs Everything, his case design is of a teardown. And what do I have here? The inner workings of a smartphone, a teardown. So not only was this case unbelievably expensive and, in my opinion, not worth the money, even with the discount code that I got from some other YouTuber, I don't appreciate businesses that operate that way. So I'm going to take it off. I might take it off and just burn it. I would take it off and like shoot it, but I can't discharge my weapon here. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but these are some of the thoughts that are in my head. These are the things that I think about, and I just wanted to share them. This is not intentional rambling or anything like that. This is just it, folks. Okay, and there's a YouTuber content creator that pops up in my feed for two reasons. One, because I'm a man, I'm a male. YouTube shows me a lot of content from females. YouTube shows me a lot of content from attractive females. I noticed that yesterday after I put together my doom scrolling video. I had about 15 different stories, and I ended up settling on 3, I think. But as I was going through it, I was like, every story that I had was based on what YouTube provided to me in my home screen, home feed, homepage, recommended browse. They were all women. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. So this goes into my thoughts, opinions, and theories about the algorithm manipulating people and their thoughts and their ideas and their actions, and swaying them through this mental persuasion of inserting the simplest idea through an inception into the mind to make them do things theoretically naturally, although they wouldn't have done them otherwise unless they were coerced. They were nudged. The other reason why she popped up in my feed, I believe, is because of van life. And she has an interesting story. One of 2, which ended up being 3 topics that interested me. The first was she was being followed, or actually she was being watched. Now, I thought that this was clickbait. Obviously, you're on YouTube, so I get it. You're being watched. It's a play on words. Too many clouds, no sunrise. I mean, the sun will rise, we just won't see it. But yeah, you're on YouTube, so obviously you're being watched, you're making videos, you're making content, people are going to watch you, I get it. But no, it went further than that, as she was discussing her travels in her van that was giving her problems, and in the middle of like Arizona summer, super hot, just trying to cool off, and she found herself on BLM, Bureau of Land Management land, and she just wanted to kind of open the windows and go to sleep and survive, basically. Or she had this encounter. Now, the other reason why it stood out is because she said the video, she originally wasn't planning on sharing this content, but then she did, and she uploaded it, and she said it went viral. Over 1 million views. And she's got 50, 60, 70,000 subscribers, maybe. I don't remember exactly. Over 1 million views. Which then drew a lot more attention to her. In that explanation to that video, she explained where she grew up, Texas, the family she grew up in, military, what age she got her first gun. In the video, she said, I was afraid that I was going to have to shoot somebody. And I'm thinking, well, save yourself, stand your ground, but can you legally? So obviously here, I can't legally discharge my firearm and blow holes in this Casetify case because I'm upset with it. So I'll just have to set it on fire, which I need to talk to you guys about that. Lighting things, setting things on fire, arson, and the government and climate change. But I looked it up, and I don't see anywhere where BLM would restrict you from discharging a firearm on that land in self-defense. Now, there are restrictions to discharging a firearm into trees and explosives like tannerite or anything like that. But maybe she would have been justified. Maybe she would have been justified. But the other thing is, if there was no visible, easily identifiable threat, then maybe she wouldn't have been. Now, granted, she might have had it recorded on video to prove her innocence and being a victim, but a man coming at you as a woman and making you feel uncomfortable isn't going to be a justifiable reason to put him down. So yeah, there's that. But it's all about laws, okay? And circling back to Canadian law, which I didn't know until today, is that they can track you. They can track you. So there was a story of a man who claimed that the government, there was a conspiracy theory that the government was setting forest fires, you know. The massive wildfires that were burning this past summer in Canada, blowing all that smoke down to New York and into California and everywhere. He set those fires, at least some of them. They've got him on 14 counts that they are charging him with for arson in these wildfires. But the most interesting thing about it was they said that they were able to track him and trace him to these locations as evidence. And they said once they received the go-ahead the approval, they put a tracking device on his car. Now, granted, here we got, you know, the feds, you got CIA, you got ATF, all these three-letter agencies. They can do a whole lot. And honestly, I guess the thing is, putting the tracker on the car just seems so rudimentary and action movie-esque, suspense, spy thriller, espionage. But if you really think about it, they don't need to do that here. They'll just track your phone. They'll just track your phone. They know where you are at all times. They'll track your phone, they'll track your watch, they'll track your car without putting a tracker on it because it's already got it built in. It's just that the way they disclosed it is interesting. So maybe brace yourself, folks. Get ready, be prepared, because this is coming. This pseudo Minority Report style of police work and investigation is coming. They're going to watch you. They're going to track you. Google was in on it. Apple was in on it. Tracking people's map history and providing that information to law enforcement. And now they claim it's only going to be localized on your own device. And they won't have access to it. Okay. Okay. And instead, they will provide your browser history and search history to law enforcement with a warrant. So, or if the police just bust in somewhere and just tell you that they demand it, most mid-level, low-level, entry-level employees will comply because they ain't got no skin in the game, and the last thing they want to do is try to stand up to a police officer and potentially get arrested for obstruction of justice just because somebody else wants your browser history. Yeah, I can see it happening all day long. So anyway, they tracked this guy, and the same guy who was creating threads on different forums and websites of conspiracy theories of the government starting these wildfires as a way to push climate change, the climate change theory and agenda on the masses. In fact, he was the one setting the fires. Or so they say. Or so they say. Was he really? Was he really? There's a show, there's a series on Netflix, I think it's called 7 Seconds. And this isn't the only show, but there are several other instances of these shows and real life occurrences, movies, where a crime has been committed. But the person who committed the crime is above the law. However, somebody has to be held accountable for said crime. Creed 3 happened in Creed 3 also. I'm not going to give it away if you haven't seen the movie. But essentially, somebody is going to either voluntarily or involuntarily step up to the plate and take the fall, even though they didn't do it. Okay? Now hear me out. Who's to say that the Canadian government didn't set the fires and he just happens to be the fall guy? And guess what? Nobody will ever know. Because unless you were there and you knew from the top down, there's always three sides to every story. Your side, their side, and the truth. And I gotta tell you guys, there's a lot of gray area and fog and smoke and dust and distraction and lies and all sorts of stuff hidden in there. You'll never know. All you'll know is that fires were set. Wildfires. They're only wildfires because they get out of control. They're not wildfires because they happen spontaneously and you know, without cause. It's a clever play on words there. But what if he was the fall guy and they were actually setting the fires, and he was even maybe a little schizo, or he was in some trouble and they said, we can make your troubles go away. We can save and protect your family. We can do this, that, and the other. We just need you to be in the wrong. Possibility. Possibility. We got a little situation over here. If any of you guys are building owners, somebody asked me, they said, what company did you start? I started a construction company. I started a commercial roofing company. It was, I was a licensed general contractor for the state of Georgia. And I was a government contractor. I was an 8A government contractor. And we did roofing, we did painting, commercial, pretty big projects. That life is behind me now, maybe. But as I was walking, I noticed this, and this is not good. This is not good, okay? So essentially, what we have here is coping, metal coping. And it appears as though there was a cleat. But I don't see a cleat here. You can see the nailers they got in there. I don't see a cleat here. And maybe that's why there's a problem. Maybe, just maybe, they ran out of cleat and the guys are like, F it, just put it on. Well, without the cleat, then the coping gets blown up with high winds. Maybe that happened during the tornado the other day. And then, because I mean, you really shouldn't get your coping blowing off on the side. You're gonna get your greatest uplift on the corners. Okay? That's where the wind is gonna get in there and try to pick it up. But either way, that's not good. And ultimately what that does is it allows moisture into the building. It allows moisture into the roof system. And eventually it will probably blow off and then start ripping the roof off. And yeah, and your insurance company ain't gonna pay for that one, okay? Because that's negligence, that's maintenance that should be done and completed, and it has not been. Hey, some bread. But I did see a job opening for a superintendent position locally, and they are too also an 8A contractor. I think they were paying like $165,000 for the position on the 2 military bases that we got over here closest. So I thought about it, but I don't know. I think I'm done with that life. I'd be good at it, but anyway. I needed to take a break, needed a vacation, which a lot of other people did too. And unfortunately, they got screwed. They got shafted by this Life at Sea cruise, this sailing around the world cruise. And there's a lot of people out there feeling the pain after making large deposits, pouring a lot of money their life savings into this once in a lifetime opportunity, selling their homes, selling all of their belongings to be able to afford and manage this time at sea and ability to travel around the world, which, you know, it's a little interesting. Like, for instance, let's just say we really like Kara and Nate, but I feel like Kara and Nate, I mean, they've done a really good job of avoiding and dodging conflict globally. And they've gone to so many different countries, and, you know, you just never know when something's going to pop off, you know? I think they were in China or Japan when COVID first reared its ugly head, and then they were able to luckily make it back to Tennessee, which is what got them started on van life, which is what got us started watching them, which yada yada yada. Funny how these things happen, just happen. And so these folks, they put all this money into this cruise, something like almost like $40,000 into this cruise per person. Adjusted their lives, adjusted their jobs, adjusted everything. And then all of a sudden, the cruise company says, sorry guys, we're canceling the cruise. Can't do it. We don't have enough money. We couldn't secure the ship. We couldn't secure the vessel. They said, we don't have $40 or $50 million to buy a cruise ship. So now I'm kind of wondering, like, well, if you don't have the money to buy the ship, why were you offering the cruise? For which they say, well, we weren't using customer deposits as capital to fund this idea, to fund this venture. Well, maybe you're right. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you never ever planned on offering said cruise, and you thought, well, we could roll up tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars from these people, then pull a, got some work being done over here. Glad you got jack stands. And then we could pull the FTX, and we could, you know, embezzle this money out of the company. And by the time the legal system catches up with us, you know, we've already taken off, and we're in a hiatus. That samurai sword in the back of their car. Maybe the legal system's going to take so long to sort all this out, forensic accounting. Meanwhile, all these people are left holding the bag. All these people are left screwed. All these people are left scrambling to pick up the pieces to figure out, what do they do now? What do they do next? Not only did they not get the opportunity to do something that they really, really wanted to do, but they've also lost a substantial amount of money, and they have nowhere to live because some of them sold their homes. And it's just, it's crazy. It's a nightmare. But as I told you guys, we are in the middle of the greatest wealth transfer ever, okay? And this isn't a wealth transfer by way of, I've made an investment into a stock or a company or a property or anything like that, and I saw a decline. Whereas Chris Igo, buddy of mine, he says, as a real estate professional, and even back when he was a financial advisor, when someone would ask, how much can I lose in this investment, he would swiftly and seriously explain to them, you could lose everything. And that's just the way it works. You could. But you understood the risks, and you agreed to those terms, knowing that the likelihood of you losing everything was very slim, but it still exists. However, in a situation like, I don't know, a vacation, a cruise, you don't expect to lose everything. That's not an investment, that's a purchase, okay? you don't expect to lose everything. And odds are, between the time that people made these payments and the time that the company finally, you know, came clean, you know, so much time had passed that any protections that might have been made available, offered, would have expired from their bank or their credit card company or whomever. And it's sad, it's unfortunate. And as a little bit of a heads up and a public service announcement, this is only the beginning. There will be more. There will be more loss. There will be more pain. There will be more theft, crime, collusion, embezzlement. There's just going to be more. I don't want to be, you know, sorry about that. I messed up the exposure. You know, I don't want to be this guy like, oh my God, he's so negative. No, I'm just real. I just tell you how I see it. I tell you how it is. None of this stuff is made up. All of this is true. If you don't believe it, it's perfectly fine. That's okay. You don't have to. But we can't ignore the fact that it's being reported. And from that alone, we have to ask ourselves, well, what are we going to do now that we have heard about these reports? Do I believe that they don't know why the hot air balloon crashed? No. Do I believe that the government isn't in on setting wildfires and they set this guy up, or may have set other people up in the past and will potentially set people up in the future? No. Well, yeah, but no. Do I believe that this Life at Sea cruise company just fell into hard times and inadvertently couldn't execute on a cruise at a time where there was extremely dangerous global conflict occurring? No. I do believe that they had operating costs and expenses, and they had employees on staff, and maybe they were actually working towards pulling this off. But I can tell you right now that those people are not going to get their money back. They're not going to get their money back entirely. It's going to be a long, arduous battle. They're going to hope that some people just say F it and walk away. And this cycle will continue on. This will not be the last that we hear of it. Granted, it'll be a different story, a different situation. But we got to be aware. We got to be alert. We got to be vigilant. We have to be on our toes. 2024 is not going to be a year to mess with. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. You ain't seen nothing yet. What do you guys think? And what do you guys think about these walks and these talks and these conversations? Somebody says, Kevin, I noticed you're walking more while you're recording. I need to get my exercise. Yeah, I need to get my exercise. While doing these walks, I also realized how many vacant apartment units we have here. And they were so thrilled and excited that we chose to renew. And we like it here. We like it here. But I think it's also a sign. I think it's a sign of the times. And businesses are feeling the squeeze. They're feeling the pinch. They're feeling the pressure. They may be a little worried and in somewhat of a self-preservation mode and planning mode and strategy. So don't let it catch you off guard. Don't get blindsided by what's happening. Thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one.
can tell you my problems, meditating my silence. But I keep pushing my pen, rotating my stylus. Brokenness feeling like sin, now no breath, low dollar. Used to be left on red, now all the girls go holler. Now all the girls go fire.